Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7, Reunion Part 2, and first things first, I don't even know where to begin. I'm still in shock at the blatant disrespect and the pure hate that the majority of these women have for Dr. Wendy. It is alarming and it's sick. I don't care whether or not you like somebody or not. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Period, point blank. I'm also still reeling from the whole colorism conversation. As a dark-skinned Black woman who has a platform, I was also one of the first content creators to discuss the blatant colorism on this cast. When season 5 hit, I did a whole 12-minute video about Ashley Darby, her reckless mouth, and the double standards on this cast, and why doesn't Ashley get the same smoke that Candiace has gotten over the years. When I did that video, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, thank you for calling it out. And I feel like Bravo dropped the ball by not having a content creator to come on and discuss a real issue. And I don't care what anybody says. There is colorism on this cast and in the fan base. Because I notice with the fans, a lot of people have amnesia about the things that Giselle, Robyn, and Ashley have said over the years, but they want to hang Candiace on the cross every time she defends herself. And it's aggravating. And I feel like this was a missed opportunity for us to have a real conversation about a real issue. You just can't bring up colorism and then only talk about it for 2 minutes. You guys barely scratched the surface, and it was evident that Giselle, Robyn, Ashley, and Mia all wanted it to be over. Giselle up there trying to act like she's just so confused when Candiace gave the clear example of, why am I pegged as mean and aggressive and nasty, but Robyn, we've seen her roll up in Ashley's restaurant, putting her fingers in Ashley's face.
Please put your fingers out of my face. Please put your fingers out of Please put your fingers out of my face, Robyn.
This is putting my finger in your face.
Out of my face, Robyn. Out of my Robyn. Please get out of my restaurant.
And yet nobody says anything. But when I do anything, I'm pegged as mean, bratty, spoiled, emotional, a crybaby, and I don't understand why I received that backlash. And then you have Giselle talking about, well, what does you being emotional have to do with your complexion? And I said, oh my effing goodness. You know good and well what she's talking about. Just purposely trying to play dumb because you don't want to talk about it. And then you have her minion talking about, well, what are you talking about, Candiace? Because I've been labeled as mean and aggressive. And Candiace said, yeah, on this couch. You could tell that Karen made sure that she was not going to be lumped into the colorist box because she gave the example of how she owns her family's plantation where her ancestors used to work the land. And she gave the example of the house slave and the field slave. And I also loved when Karen checked Ashley, when Ashley interrupted and Karen said, Ashley, all you need to do is listen to Candiace and shut up. Ashley trying to pretend like she can't understand why they're being painted as colorists. And then when she threw that little sorry line at the end saying, well, you know what? I love all you guys and I respect all you guys. And the fact that you would think that I'm colorist, that really makes me upset because I've had issues with everybody on this couch at some point in time. But I'm not colorist. But I do recognize my privilege as a light-skinned woman. Now, Candiace, here's where I got irritated with you because when you started crying and thanking Ashley about acknowledging her privilege, I said, Candiace, why are you applauding a fish for swimming? I'll be damned if I'm thanking Ashley Darby for anything. And the only reason why Ashley said that was so that she doesn't look bad. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I don't think that anything was solved. And then you have Mia chiming in, talking about this just breaks my heart because I'm here raising a beautiful brown baby and I have never been accused of anything of the sort. And then you have Giselle jumping in talking about, yes, same here. And I want people to understand that you can still be colorist and married to a dark-skinned man, and you can still be colorist and have dark-skinned children, just so we're clear. But that's a whole different topic and a whole different video for another day. But for you to act like because you're raising dark-skinned children that you can't be colorist, I said, we're not gonna do this. It just seems like at every turn, these women are committed to gaslighting Candiace and Wendy, and I'm tired of it. And another reason why they should have had a moderator, because I felt like Candiace folded way too easily. As you guys can see, the whole colorism segment was weighing on me so heavily. I couldn't wait. I said, no, I have to start this recap off talking about it because, again, I was just livid. But y'all, with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because, as you guys can see, we don't have a minute to spare. We start off this second part with Candiace versus Giselle. Candiace has just told Giselle that she should have focused on her dwindling uterus instead of lying on Chris. And I was so happy that Candiace did not let up when she said, we are all waiting to hear what exactly did Chris do to you? And when you kept saying, well, I already told you, he made me feel uncomfortable. And I was happy that Andy didn't let you slide either because he even asked you, Giselle, did he do something to make you feel uncomfortable? Or did you just feel away because you were alone with a married man in a room? And now Giselle wants to brush him off and she's like, you know what, Andy? It's semantics at this point. And he said, yes, it is semantics, sis, but we need you to be clear. And you could tell that Giselle was hurt that her usual tricks weren't working. So now Giselle has the audacity to say that Candiace has made this a bigger issue than what it really is. And I said, wait, I'm confused. You're lying on this woman's husband, insinuating that he did something to make you feel uncomfortable, something that could ruin his reputation and his character, and you want to say that Candiace is blowing this out of proportion. Chris and Candiace have every right to defend themselves and to get you together. I was just so irritated, like, I just don't understand how Giselle operates this way. And I really want to know, what do her daughters think? I know that if that were my mom, I'd be like, Mom, do you not have a soul? Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Sitting up here lying on this man. And Candiace was absolutely correct when she said that Giselle waited for the cameras to be on so that she could talk about this on national TV to make it seem like Chris Bassett is some sort of predator. And then you have Mia with her craters jumping in the conversation, talking about, well, why can't you just acknowledge that your friend felt uncomfortable by your husband? I said, Mia, please shut up. You have enough to worry about. And you know, just like we all know, that Giselle is lying. I don't know why you're so hell-bent on trying to stick up for Giselle, the same woman who low-key insinuated that you and Gordon were embezzling money. And then Mia talking about, well, you did make it bigger. Again, Mia, nobody wants to hear anything that you have to say. Sit there and just eat your food. I mean, Mia has got to be one of the worst additions to a franchise that I have ever seen. She's right up there with Diana Jenkins from Beverly Hills. I don't need to see Mia come back in any capacity come season 8. This needs to be her last season. The woman is a weirdo along with a pathological liar. And she also has that Ashley Darby syndrome where she'll say and do anything to collect a check. Because best believe Ashley's deathly afraid of going back to the tent under I-95 next to Sheila, and Mia's afraid of being back out on the streets. When Andy addressed Ashley about how the footage debunked all of Deborah's claims that Chris wanted her, and then she said, well, I have never known Deborah to be a liar, and she still maintains what she said, and she says that the footage didn't match up. And I said, girl, we clearly saw that your friends all circled around Chris and they spoke to him first. And all he said was, hey, my name is Chris. Oh, like, nice to meet you. That was that. You and your friend need help. Deborah, I know you have to be embarrassed because not only were you clowned on national TV, you didn't receive one check for this, and then on top of that, you weren't even invited to the reunion. So what was this all for? And when the whole Happy Eddie comment got brought up, I love that good subtle shade that Wendy gave. She said, it's almost like a lot of the women in this group can't handle when a man is nice towards them. It's like they're almost uncomfortable by a man treating them with respect and decency. I said, you are absolutely correct, Wendy, because the women on this cast, such as Ashley, Giselle, and Robyn, they're only used to degenerate behavior. Giselle dealt with a serial cheater for years. Robyn dealt with a serial cheater and still dealing with cheating today. Ashley also dealt with that. But on top of that, Michael doesn't even have respect and doesn't understand consent. He's out here groping people. So yeah, they're not used to men who actually respect women. It's foreign to them that a man could actually be just pleasant and nice. Eddie has that smile on his face because he has Wendy at home. Believe that. Do you see how good Wendy looks? The body, the face, like stop it. Deborah, you didn't have a chance. So for you to even imply that Eddie wanted you, girl, once again, the delusions.
No.
Now, Robyn, I already know that you regret this segment when Andy brought up the whole debacle with Candiace and the Instagram Live and how you tried to expose her in Miami when you brought that speaker out. And you even admitted that you didn't even listen to the whole Instagram Live. You jumped the gun for no reason. And even Andy said, but had you listened to the whole live, you would have heard that Candiace was saying nice things about you. And then here goes Robyn talking about, well, when she said the part about peddling businesses, I assumed that she was talking about all of us. I was happy that Candiace got Robyn together and she said, look, Robyn, if you felt like I was talking about you, all you had to do was walk over to me and say, hey girl, are you talking about me? And I could have cleared it up for you. But instead, you were trying to shame me and expose me, but you embarrassed yourself. Now, Robyn, I really hope that you feel embarrassed for what you said next. When you said, Candiace, you get so angry, but it's like we're all here on this show and everything that we do should be on camera. I said, come again? The same woman who hid an entire storyline for a year, the sheer gall when Juan was out here cheating on you with a woman who lives in Canada, flew her out and everything, but you kept that quiet. But you want to tell somebody else that whatever they do should be on camera. If Robyn is not fired or demoted come season 8, I probably might have to stop watching. I thought this part was interesting when Andy read a viewer question asking Candiace, you made up with Robyn, you told her that you look up to her the most, but what about Wendy? So now Candiace gets defensive and she's like, I don't understand this whole thing where the fans act like I can only be close to one girlfriend. I've known Robyn longer and I connected with her first the minute I entered this group. Then you have Robyn co-signing saying that her and Candiace have always been great friends and how it's not a competition. Now, first things first, Candiace, I need you to wake up and realize that Robyn's loyalty is to Giselle Bryant and Giselle Bryant only. And the fact that you have all this undying loyalty and love for her, it's weird. I want you to stop being a pick-me for Robyn and Giselle. I'm tired of it. It's very aggravating. You're sitting up here running behind people who don't really like you. You and Wendy need to stick together. And again, Candiace, I've always viewed your whole dynamic with Giselle and Robyn as you like them, you consider them your friend, but they don't consider you their friend. It gives very much you like them a lot more than they like you. I never looked at your dynamic with them as a true friendship. If anything, they liked you a little bit more than they liked Monique. That's what it gave. And for you to act like Robyn is this big sister that you never had, I never got that vibe that it was some big sis, little sis relationship. I was happy that Wendy spoke up and said, but Candiace, let me just say, you turned to me at the table and said that Robyn is the most loyal, and then a few minutes later, she's up there putting the speaker on the table trying to expose you. So I'm kind of confused too. And then Candiace says, yeah, you know, she did do that. And then here goes Robyn talking about that wasn't the sequence of events. I said, just anything to discredit Wendy. You just hate this woman so bad that whatever Wendy says, you're going to find a way to be contrary. It's sick. We see them take a break. We see the husbands in the dressing room. I was screaming because Gordon walked by Candiace and Chris's dressing room and he was like, oh, Candiace, you look so nice. I would hug you, but I won't because I'm not trying to make anybody feel uncomfortable. I said the shade of it all. And I guess Gordon got scared because last year folks are getting on him when he stuck his tongue out at Karen. So he was probably thinking, look, I don't want anybody accusing me of hugging somebody where I squeeze their breast to their backbone or somebody saying that I'm some pervert. So now we jump to Giselle's segment, and Giselle's segment should have been 90 seconds because Giselle brought absolutely nothing. And we also saw that Andy created a monster with Giselle when she tried to flip Andy off later on. I said, oh girl, you forgot that that's your boss, right? But we'll talk about that in just a minute. So Andy's asking Giselle about her home. Again, we don't care. Then he brings up the Reasonably Shady podcast. I think Robyn chimes in saying that they had never even listened to podcasts before. And so Wendy had me screaming. She said, well, that's not wise. And you have Robyn talking about, well, 4 million downloads and 80 episodes later, like, don't hate. I said, baby, I can assure you that nobody is hating on your podcast. So now Andy gets a bit shady. He reads a viewer question asking, how do they feel? Do they feel like Karen stole the idea for the live show the same way that she stole Wendy's idea about the candles? So now Karen says, look, let's get one thing straight. Wendy, I already have my perfume out. I was already in the works to have my candle line out long before you got here. Like, I let you have your moment, but rest assured, I didn't steal anything. Then Karen insists that she told Giselle, Ashley, and Robyn that she was going to have her own variety show as well. So it wasn't a surprise to them. So now Giselle's like, well, next question, Andy. And I said, but Giselle, if Karen already told you, then why try to play her like she's copying you? That's so annoying. And I hate how Giselle does that. So now Andy wants to know who inspired Karen to start her own show. And I think she said that it was Carol Burnett. And then Andy says, well, I thought it was Wendy Williams. So Karen's like, Andy, stop being shady. If you want to come to my show, I can get you a VIP ticket for my show in Philly. In my opinion, I felt like they spent a bit too much time talking about the live shows. I didn't care that much. So now we start talking about Giselle's hysterectomy. So Giselle says that it's the first time in all her 7 years on the show that she's received so much love and so much feedback from the fans. Now, Candiace got it absolutely correct when she said, because it's your first time ever giving us something real. Giselle has skated by for 7 years, giving us no storylines whatsoever. And the fact that she gave us a storyline 15 episodes into the season, that's sad. Why didn't we hear about your hysterectomy and your health issues and the fibroids? Why didn't we hear about that in episode 1? But Giselle says that she didn't feel like a woman anymore. Then she says that the whole ordeal was traumatic. The surgery was supposed to be 3.5 hours, and it ended up being 8.5 hours. So she goes on to add that her daughters were freaking out, they were scared, her sister was there getting updates, and I want to stop right here and say, I do not know how you are on a reality television show and the vast majority of viewers had no idea until now that you had siblings. Unless I missed something, all this time I thought that Giselle was an only child. I had no idea that Giselle had a sister. And then a few of you guys informed me that she has a brother as well. This is news to me. But while Giselle's talking about the surgery, she gets so choked up that she says, you know what, Andy, we'll talk about this later. And the way Andy said, absolutely not, he said, no, we're going to talk about it right now.
We'll talk about it later.
No, we're talking about it now.
I want to stop right here and say, Andy, you've allowed this behavior for so long that Giselle got comfortable. The way she just said, oh, we'll talk about it later. And also, sis, you're at the reunion. There is no later. You're going to address it right now. I don't understand where she gets off thinking that she's exempt from discussing her issues and what's going on in her life. And Giselle, you should feel so embarrassed because you had the opportunity to use your platform to discuss fibroids and hysterectomies. That would have been a very compelling storyline. You would have become more likable. We would have seen a more vulnerable side to you. It would have helped your image. From a PR standpoint, it would have helped tremendously. But the fact that you chose to conceal that and focus on this blatant lie about Chris Bassett making you feel uncomfortable, are you not embarrassed? And I loved how Andy addressed the double standards that you have where you want to hide your life, but you want everybody else to share what's going on in theirs. And when he said, but don't you see how hypocritical it is? And she said, no, because I do show my life, but if production cuts it out, then what can I do? I said, Giselle, we are not even going to play these games where you're going to blame production. You don't give production anything to work with. You want to sit up here and lie and say, well, production cuts it all out. No, they don't. You don't give them anything. And when Giselle had the audacity to say, well, I'm not going to sit up here and share my health issues with people I don't like. And I said, oh, well, isn't that funny? Because I can assure you that if Wendy was going through all those health issues, you'd be the first one saying, well, why didn't she share anything? I mean, come on, who does that? You would be saying that, Giselle. We know how hateful you are. But Karen, Candiace, and Mia all say that Giselle bullies people into sharing their stories while she hides her own. Now, when they went on to talk about how Giselle's dating Jason from Summer House, I didn't care. And Giselle joking about how she got some dick last night, they prepped for the reunion. I said, okay, girl, and you're still miserable. So it's obviously not helping you. This little fake romance is giving, I'm just doing this for a storyline for season 8. And it was at this part where I was this close to turning the TV off and not even finishing the rest of the reunion or even recapping this because that's how pissed I was. But Andy wants to know exactly what was Mia's thought process in throwing that drink in Wendy's face because Wendy didn't do anything to warrant that being done to her. So Mia says, well, the way I remember it, Andy, a lot of things were said and she just kept coming at me. So Wendy's like, girl, what? So Mia goes on to say that she had no intentions of arguing with Wendy and how she poorly delivered her message. Wendy interrupts and Wendy is clearly emotional, as she should be. She was humiliated on national TV. So she says, Mia, the fact that it is almost a year later and you still cannot take ownership or accountability for assaulting me, that is effed up and you know it. And instead of Mia saying, you know what, Wendy, you're right, I was wrong for that, I am so sorry, Mia's gonna throw out a bold-faced lie that Wendy was trying to have sex with Peter Thomas. Talking about, yeah, you guys went out to dinner one night before we started filming and I have the receipts. I saw it on the camera. You guys shared an entree and you were trying to offer him your cookie. Mia, I'm not even going to play with you like this. You are a true clown. Your childhood must haunt you every single day because the way that you are willing to do anything and willing to say anything just for a check is troubling. Because we all know, Andy knows, the rest of the castmates know that Wendy was not trying to throw it at Peter. The way you seem so obsessed with Peter Thomas, I really think that you and Peter had something going on. It's just kind of weird how you always bring him up. Now, when Andy brought up Robyn's comments during the whole assault, and he said, Robyn, why would you call the victim antagonistic? So Robyn, of course, is making no sense, and she's like, well, hear me out. First things first, if somebody threw a drink on me, I wouldn't know how I'd react. And I loved how Andy got you together and said, well, actually, I think I do know how you'd act, because I remember how you did with Monique about the umbrella. And Robyn's face was cracked when he said that. Because we've seen with our own two eyes how aggressive, how nasty Robyn gets with these other women. Child, the way Robyn would have flipped that table over and probably jumped on somebody and damn near killed them, I don't want to hear that. Robyn's always getting up, daring somebody to fight her. So again, miss me with all that demure, oh, I don't know, I'm just such a lady, I don't know what I would do. Girl, stop. Please. So now you have Robyn trying to spin it like she was looking out for Wendy, and she says, all I was saying was I didn't want to see her fighting on national TV. So my whole point was, if you want to fight, then fight, but if you don't want to fight, then shut up. So we see some unseen footage where Robyn is trying to give Wendy some advice, and it's like, Robyn, again, please stop. Wendy was the clear victim. Period, point blank. I don't care if you like Wendy or not. Wendy did not say or do anything that warranted a drink in her face. Just say that the rules are different when you don't like somebody. And Wendy, this is why I was irritated with you when you sat up there and forgave Mia when you guys were in Mexico. She gave you that weak apology, and there you are talking about, oh, I love you, girl. You're pretty. I'm gorgeous. Let's be friends again. It's fine. Absolutely not. The minute that drink was splashed in my face, there would be no forgiveness. And y'all know me. I have told y'all time and time again, I am not a forgiving person. I will hold a grudge. And the minute that you have put your hands on me, you have violated me to the highest degree. And Mia showed her true colors that she wasn't sorry or remorseful for what she did to you. She was sitting there all smug when you were yelling and talking to her about, I can't believe you did that to me. And she's just rolling her eyes. Absolutely not. So Wendy jumps back in and says, look, I was assaulted not once, but twice. And to have everybody sit there and call me antagonistic, I don't care if me and you get along or not. If anybody on this stage, including dumbass Mia, got a drink thrown in their face, I would call it out and say that was wrong. And did you guys hear Giselle under her breath when she said, well, that's not nice? I said, Giselle, you are just determined to hate this woman. All the nasty and vile things that have been said about Wendy, but yet you want to sit up here and talk about, oh, that's not nice, because Wendy said dumbass Mia. And rest assured, if somebody ever throws a drink at me, I'm calling them everything but a child of God. Then you have Robyn talking about, well, even though I don't agree with Mia's actions, I understood her frustration in the moment. And once again, can somebody please let me know, what did Wendy do to Mia? I don't understand why Mia was frustrated in the first place. Wendy was at the table, minding her business, when Mia sat down and started the whole mess. Talk about, oh yeah, Peter told me that he's mad at you. I'm just confused as to how could Mia be frustrated with Wendy when she started the entire altercation. So Robyn tries to justify her actions by saying that she wasn't on Wendy's side because her and Wendy weren't friends at the time. And once again, I don't care how anybody feels about it. Whether I like you or I don't like you, I can still recognize if somebody has done you wrong. The fact that Robyn and Giselle are not mature enough to just say, despite how I feel about Wendy, she did not deserve to have that happen to her is telling. And I was also irritated when Robyn brought Karen into it. And she says, and also, Karen should have been the one to jump in and tell you guys to both cut it out. First of all, Wendy didn't do anything wrong. So if Karen were to jump in and say anything, it should have been directed towards Mia. Second of all, why are you bringing Karen into this anyway? And I love how Karen checked you. She said, Robyn, why are you bringing me into the middle of your BS? Why are you throwing me into a situation that you were gaslighting the whole time? And then Robyn, I'm not gaslighting. Who's gaslighting? I wasn't gaslighting anything. Yes, you were. And let's not forget how you whipped your phone out to record Wendy while this all went down. And Robyn was still lying because when Andy brought up the whole incident when they were at that dance class and Robyn stood up like she wanted to fight Wendy, and then we saw Robyn deny that Charisse had to hold her back. And so Andy said, yeah, you lied that Charisse did not have to restrain you, but we saw the footage and Charisse indeed had to put her hands on you to calm you down. And of course, Robyn's making more excuses. Well, no, Andy, I didn't say that she didn't have her hands on me. All I'm saying is that I didn't need Charisse to restrain me because I was just fine. So now Wendy jumps in and says, look, I don't know where you're from, but if you're seated and somebody gets up and walks towards you like they want to fight you, you don't know where things could go. Robyn has the tendency to get up when she's angry and get in somebody's face like she wants to fight. So Charisse jumping in the middle to restrain Robyn was the right thing to do because something tells me that Robyn probably would have gotten in Wendy's face. Robyn's upset that she is finally being called to the carpet for being a bully because honestly, Robyn's a mean girl. So here we go, having to relive season 5 yet again. Can I just say one thing? Potomac's biggest stain is that fight. And if you are a Monique fan, you might want to fast forward or X out of this video because what Monique did to Candiace was wrong. And before anybody gets in the comments talking about, well, Candiace was talking all that, no, we're not going to do that because Ashley has said and done a lot worse. And Candiace was a great friend to Monique. And also, if you think I'm lying, go back and rewatch. Monique threw Candiace under the bus because she was trying to be in good with the Green-Eyed Bandits. That's what this whole fight was all about. She knew good and damn well that Candiace was a good friend to her and was on her side and had nothing to do with those rumors about her child. And if we want to be real, Monique's timeline doesn't make any sense because she claimed that the rumors started about her child around season 3. Well, if I recall, seasons 3, 4, and the beginning of 5, Monique was still trying to be friends with the Green-Eyed Bandits. Why would you still try to befriend people who are talking about your family? Huh? Let's make it make sense. Bottom line, Monique took her anger out on the wrong person. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. But anyhow, Andy calls out Ashley for her flip-flopping on violence. And so Ashley says, well, no, I wasn't flip-flopping because what happened to Candiace in season 5 is different. Candiace had the whole group support. Meanwhile, everybody villainized Monique and went for her jugular. This season, nobody was on Wendy's side and nobody held Mia's feet to the fire, and that's not fair. Now, Ashley, while you get half a point from me for being on the side of right for once, you still are full of it because what you did to Candiace was messed up. Candiace was assaulted, and you know it. And the fact that you were against her and wrote a statement against her, like, what changed? So while I get what you're saying about sticking up for Wendy and how what happened to Wendy wasn't fair, it wasn't right, what you did in season 5 was still wrong. And somebody could say, well, girl, you did flip-flop. Because what changed? 2 people were assaulted, but yet you only had sympathy and compassion for one person, but not the other. Very interesting. So now Andy calls out Giselle for being a hypocrite as well, because in season 5, she was all against Monique, and now With Wendy, she could care less. So Giselle says you can't compare the two incidents because Candiace got beat up in season 5 and season 7, Wendy got a drink in her face. A drink toss doesn't compare to being beat up. So now Andy makes a great point and he's like, Giselle, the same way that you're saying that Chris Bassett made you feel a type of way, why can't you hear Wendy out about how the drink toss made her feel? This woman got a martini thrown in her face. Just listen to what she has to say. So now Giselle brushes Andy off and she's like, bottom line, Andy, I don't like Wendy, so I don't care what happens to her. And that right there is what I'm talking about. Y'all have selective morality. It's based on if you like somebody or not. How dare you? And while I do agree that Monique was wrong, and I was so pissed at what she did in season 5, you went on a whole campaign about how she makes all black women look bad and how violence is not the answer and you're ashamed to be around her. You got a whole bodyguard. The same way you demonize Monique, you should have the same smoke for what Mia did to Wendy. I do not care if you like Wendy or not. If you believe that violence is wrong and you iced out Monique, then you should have done the same exact thing to Mia. Mia should have been iced out of this group for what she did to Wendy. But instead, you go ahead and try to ice out the victim. So let's see what happens to you if somebody clocks you. Let's see how you feel if Wendy and Candiace say, okay, girl, well, hey, I don't like her, so I'm glad that she got clocked. Let's see. And it's clear that you are trying to break Wendy down because when Wendy started crying, my heart broke. I had tears coming out of my eyes because Wendy did not deserve that. You have to be such a piece of shit to revel in that woman being assaulted on national TV. That was just so sick. And Wendy knows that half of these women don't like her, and she has to show up and film with these women who have it out for her. You know how crushing that has to be on your spirit? Giselle, you are 52, 53, acting like a bona fide mean girl at your big age. 7 years shy of 60, probably got an AARP card in your wallet, and you're sitting up here rejoicing in the fact that Wendy got a drink thrown in her face. I wanted to jump through the TV and give Wendy the biggest hug because, again, my heart broke. And when she turned to Mia and said, Mia, when you did that to me, you violated me so bad. And the way it took everything in me to not beat the shit out of you. And she said, and don't get it twisted, I could have fought you, but I didn't. And the only reason why I had that conversation with you in Mexico was so we could all move forward as a group. But I don't mess with you because you violated me and I'm done. And then Mia's sitting up there rolling her eyes, making faces, talking about, oh, well, hey, I mean, okay, you don't mess with me, then I don't care. I was just too done. It's one thing to have some drama. It's one thing to not like somebody. But when you really have some hate for somebody, that's when it's a problem. And we have too many hateful women on this show. And I saw some people on Twitter talking about, oh, well, I think that Wendy deserved it because she's so arrogant. Excuse me, nobody's more arrogant than Giselle Bryant. Giselle is always talking about how good she looks, how beautiful she is. If that's not arrogant, then I don't know what is. So I don't want to hear that. All the other housewives, it's okay to brag. But when it comes to Wendy, oh, she's arrogant, she's a snob, I just don't like her, I just don't see it for her. Well, why not? Why is that? Let's unpack that. Because inquiring minds are dying to know. I'm just sick and tired of it, y'all. I really am. And Wendy, just off of principle, I don't care how much Bravo offers you, if they lowball you, if they don't, I need you to sign that contract for season 8. Do not let anybody run you off this show. Because I can assure you, if Wendy is not back on for season 8, then I won't be watching. I'm going to just tell you just like that. Wendy better be on for season 8. And Wendy, just like I told you in the prior recaps, you messed around flirting and showing your vagina to Mia. Because then you have Giselle, oh, you don't F with her? Well, weren't you guys bumping vaginas in Mexico? You see how they couldn't wait to throw that back in your face? And like I told you before, sis, I'll be damned if I'm out here flirting with somebody who assaulted me. Absolutely not. Mia could not get a hello out of me, much less us flirting. and she's seeing my vagina. Now, I already addressed the colorism segment in the beginning of this recap. No need for us to beat a dead horse and talk about it again. Next time, if you guys are going to have this conversation, please get a moderator. This segment was way too short. You guys barely scratched the surface. And Candiace, once again, I still want to know, why were you up there crying and thanking Ashley Darby? Absolutely not. Now, this second part ends with Jacqueline coming out, and Jacqueline looked good. I thought that the hair was on point. You could see that Jacqueline was ready for her 15 minutes, honey. She had her receipts, and she was propped up and ready to go. So Andy's asking Jacqueline how she's doing, and did she ever imagine that her and Mia would be on the outs? So Jacqueline says, no, it's devastating. I feel like Mia wants to elevate herself by making me feel like a peasant. Now, I can definitely see that. I think that Mia is a very insecure woman. The constant bragging about being rich and being a boss. I think that only insecure people do that. I think that Mia has a lot of scars from her childhood, feeling like she was less than, feeling unloved, feeling unwanted. I think that she still carries that with her as an adult. So I wasn't surprised to hear Jacqueline say that. Also, I feel like Mia does not have a strong sense of self. I think that she has very low self-esteem, and she needs material items and also feeling like she's better than somebody to feel good about herself and get out the bed each morning. So Mia says that she's upset to hear that. She never wants Jacqueline to feel like Jacqueline's beneath her. Then she goes on to add that she has a lot going on in her life, and when Jacqueline came on the show, she had no idea how needy Jacqueline would be. So now Jacqueline says, oh, okay, you want to play this game? Well, let's talk about my sister. Now, if you don't know, Jacqueline's sister is on YouTube. Her channel is Tita Talks, and she did several videos exposing Mia and all of Mia's lies, okay? But let me just tell you that Jacqueline did not come to play. So Jacqueline says, let's be really clear about something. My sister was my nanny. And because you don't have a family of your own, I literally gave you my sister to nanny for your kids. So the fact that you're saying that you gave me all this support when I'm the one who gave you my sister, I'm confused. I said, come through, Jacqueline. Jacqueline said, no, she's getting her champagne flute for season 8 and a tagline and an actual salary and not just the day rate. So now Andy wants to know the dynamic with Mia and Jacqueline's parents, because remember that Jacqueline's parents took Mia in when Mia was a teenager. So Mia says, we're close, but I wish that we were closer. So now Jacqueline says, girl, stop. My entire family is disgusted by you and how you've shown your ass this entire season. So Mia's pretty much ignoring Jacqueline, and so she goes on to say that this whole thing playing out on TV is sad, and how she and Jacqueline have said worse to each other. Then she goes on to say that she'll fight with somebody and then forget about it the next morning and be okay. So Jacqueline says, Mia, that's a problem. And that's why you're very unhinged. And Jacqueline told no lies, because that is the perfect word to use to describe Mia. Mia is extremely unhinged. So we find out that Mia was sending nasty things in the group chat, talking about Jacqueline's home is in foreclosure and how Jacqueline's on food stamps. And I was like, wait a second, what? But we end the second part with Jacqueline and Mia taking out their receipts to expose each other. Now, personally, I'm not that invested in the whole Mia and Jacqueline drama, so I don't really care that much. But I think that it is beyond pathetic that Mia is willing to throw away 30 years over a check. That is very sad. In my personal opinion, the real reason why Mia and Jacqueline have fallen out, I think that Mia has to feel like she's above you at all times. And I think that she was not expecting for the other ladies to get close to Jacqueline. I think that Mia's also upset at the fact that Jacqueline now has some notoriety of her own. Again, I think that with Mia, she has to be the top dog in the relationship. And because Jacqueline's on this show now, it puts them on even footing. Just my thoughts, but I just think that it's very telling that you're friends with somebody for 30 years, now you're both on a show, and now you can't stand each other. I don't think that Mia has the capacity to be a true friend to anybody because she can't be a true friend to herself. That is a very broken woman, a very insecure woman, a miserable woman. So I'm not surprised that she can't seem to keep friends. But guys, as you can see, this second part wore me all the way out. But guys, thank you so much for watching my recap. I hope you all enjoyed, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.